Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to GT swapping my 2000 Mustang convertible. In the last video we found out the frame rails and the lower shock towers were absolutely shot, meaning that we would have to do an extensive amount of work to be able to put the motor in it. So in this video we are going to be replacing the lower shock tower and the frame rails and getting the car all back together so that it can be driven. Okay, I'm not sure what I showed you of removing the fenders, but I finally just got this one off. The bolts ended up being so rusty that I ended up having to grind them and cut them off, so you can see like right there. And the other side, I don't know if you saw it, but the other side ended up breaking off too. Well, it turns out I actually forgot 2 bolts inside here. I don't know how that happened, so I guess I'll see you after that. Well, I wasn't gonna remove the front bumper, but since it was already starting to come off because somebody obviously did not connect it properly, yeah, I just figured I might as well pop it off. And I noticed this. So that's actually not supposed to come off, so gonna be stealing that off the parts car as well, I guess. One of the small things I can remove that we're not gonna need and they're kind of in the way right now anyway is this cold air intake. Well, this had a clamp on it, but it ended up just falling off, so all we gotta do is, yeah. It's that metal piece isn't supposed to come off, but it did. So guys, I was looking at the front of the Mustang here and like, that's strange. Why does this side of the crash bar look longer than this side? And then I come back around here. So this is what this is supposed to look like, right? That's all straight and everything. I wonder what's wrong here. That's one more thing I've got to do on this is replace the whole front crash bar off the other Mustang. Okay, so I got the Mustang in the garage here after I removed that fender. I need to work on cleaning up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the hood so that I can put the hood, the fenders, and some of the extra parts we have into the shed. It's been a little bit since I last recorded. As you can see, a lot has been done. Obviously, I did remove the hood, but I also removed the K-member, and as you can see, just it looks a whole lot different. I removed a bunch of pieces from inside the engine bay. I removed the brake booster, all of the brake lines, the wiring, everything's out. Obviously, you can see I took the crash bar off and that fiberglass piece. We cut out the passenger side and I put in that patch that we haven't gotten welded in yet. But not only have things changed in the engine bay and the outside of the Mustang, but also the inside. As you can see, we've pulled the dash because I plan on replacing it with the GT dash. That way it'll have the GT gauge cluster and all the GT wiring, and I won't have to mess with wiring issues in the future. So I apologize for jumping so far in the future. It's been a lot of short sessions of working on it, so it wasn't really anything that I really thought to record. But in hindsight, I wish I did record a little bit more so I didn't have to jump so far into the future. I will definitely record more though so that we can actually keep up with the project and you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Alright boys, I just finished my first day of welding and grinding the frame. I got quite a bit of this ahead of me. So this is what I've got done of this side. You can see I've got this seam done and I've got a bunch of spot welds done, but I'm gonna take a break from this side and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do to remove the rusty spot on this side. So in my scenario, I wanna leave this top piece of the frame. So what I do is I take a small drill bit, start it. I don't even bother going all the way through. Since I wanna leave this back piece, I only wanna cut the part that I'm replacing. Take my spot weld cutter. That way I can go through this piece, but leave this piece intact. That way I have something to weld to. Now I can go ahead and do that for all of these. Then on spots like this, where I need to replace this back piece, all I have to do is drill completely through. That way I can weld to the new piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove a couple more spot welds, including all of these down here. And then I'm gonna measure from the top of this piece right here, what's left, up so that I can create a line here and I'll be able to cut all this rust out. I measured 3 inches up. So then I'm gonna go all the way around 3 inches up, and then I can copy that to the patch I'm putting in. Now I'm gonna work on the outside of the frame rail, and I'm basically just gonna repeat the same process of cutting out spot welds and drilling out spot welds. And as you can see, I already started cutting out the shock tower itself, so I'll see you in a minute. What I've done here is I've gone ahead and cut out all the spot welds, and I've cut out the majority of what I need to. Now I just need to work on getting this piece out. I've got all the spot welds cut out, but I can't get it out until I cut this out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this piece of cardboard here, and I'm gonna make a template going off this piece, and I'm gonna match it over here, and I'll know what to cut out. I got this piece cut out here now, and I also went ahead and removed, as you can see, this piece is missing. I just finished cleaning inside of this frame piece here, so I'll be able to throw some weld through primer in there and that won't rust. I threw a bit of paint in here because I'm not going to be able to get to that once the new piece is welded in. While that dries, I'm going to work on cleaning up spots like this where it needs to be cleaned because I'm going to be welding to it, and also here and over here. Got all that cleaned up, and now I got to work on cleaning all this and all of that so I can be able to weld that in when I need to. But what I've got to do after that, which I'm really not excited for, is cleaning all of the paint off from this patch panel. That way I'll be able to weld this in. I still have to cut it to the right height and length, but I'll do that after I clean up all these surfaces. I was up to almost midnight last night grinding and welding the seams here. They're looking pretty good. This is the outside of the frame. It looks pretty decent. We're gonna be covering most of this stuff, so I'm not too worried about it. I just finished measuring the driver's side patch here. Once I get that cut, I'll be able to test fit it in here. While I was painting the front end here, the driver's side patch got welded in, so I have a boatload of grinding I need to do. As you can see here, pretty much everything is all welded in where it needs to be. Okay, so a little bit of an update. I've done a bunch more grinding and sanding, and we did a little bit of body filler there. We're gonna have to do another skim coat, but I think the first coat is looking pretty good. Got a couple spots I gotta fill, and I gotta finish welding in this bracket here, and we are well on our way. I'm probably not gonna show much more grinding and welding because I've shown so much of it, and that's basically what half this video has been about. So I'll probably see you when we get back to doing some body filler. I've been getting a load of sanding done. As you can see, the insides of the shock towers are pretty much done. I've got the outside of this one done, and this all looks pretty good. I am going to clean up the rust, but so don't worry about that. I've got to get this piece welded in. I've got it welded in on that side, so I got to clean that up. At this moment right now, I'm working on cleaning up this mess here. This is the last body filler I've got to do. Also got some down there. All right, so all of the sanding and everything is done with the body filler. As you can see here, I just need to go over it with primer sealer like I've done over here. And once I use primer sealer on all of this, I can work on painting the outside of the engine bay. But before I can paint, I have to fix this spot right here. I just finished welding the horn bracket back to the body here. From factory, these welds are not here. It's just these two plug welds, but it had broken off previously. So I put these on here to make sure that it's not gonna come off anytime soon. But for now, the driver's side is all ready to start getting cleaned up so I can start painting. I finished painting this and let it dry for a little bit, and I think it looks absolutely spectacular. I am really happy with how this turned out. I ended up painting that while I took a break from working on this miserable thing. It is not going too great. I've got to cut this apart still so I can get it to fit there. I can't paint this side yet though because I have some grinding to do, as you can see there, and a little bit of sanding. But once I get that done, then I can paint this side. All right, so plans have changed a little bit. The original plan was to paint the outside of the engine bay black, like I've done here, and we were going to paint the inside red, just how it was before. But I plan on eventually undercoating and painting the underside of the Mustang, and as you can see, there's not really a break between the bottom of the floor and the firewall, so there's not a great way to transition from black to red. We're probably just gonna go with all black, which will also be easier and cheaper because we don't have to try to find the right color. It could just be black. The pedestal is mounted back on, so the crash bar is back on, and it looks pretty good. So as you can see, I've got the whole thing pulled apart. Me and my brother just finished doing that, and I've started putting down a little bit of paint there. This whole thing is gonna be black. I'm not not gonna bother trying to paint the hood latch because that's already black. Everything is pulled out of the way, and I'm gonna start working on putting down the rust inhibitor over bare metal and rust. I just finished putting the rust inhibitor down, and I think I pretty much got all of it. I'm gonna go back later and make sure I didn't miss anything. Tomorrow, once this paint is dry, I can start painting the rest of the engine bay. I'm gonna go over the rust inhibitor with some actual black paint so that everything will all be the same color and it'll all hopefully look like this. Well, I ran out of paint, but this is what I've gotten so far. I think it looks pretty good. I obviously still have to do the firewall and all of this. And there are spots like right here where this is just rust inhibitor, so I need to go over that with black. But so far, I think it's looking pretty good. I've got most of the painting done in the engine bay. I think it looks pretty good. I just painted where the brake booster is going, so I'm waiting in that area to put all that stuff back. I can put this back, and I can start putting stuff back on this side right here. So right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and start throwing some smaller things on. I'll probably go ahead and start throwing on stuff like this, and then eventually I need to get this mounted back up so I can start putting the front end back together. So I was attempting to put the brake booster in, but there's a little bit of an issue. As you can see on the GT brake booster, there is this little stud right here that has to go through the firewall to align it. On the V6s, you can see there's no place for that stud. You can actually see where the stud was hitting there. But basically, if I go to the other Mustang, you can see right here, that's where that little stud goes through. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill a small hole so that stud fits through there, and this should fit up pretty easily after that. I just finished test fitting the GT brake booster, as you can see here. The GT pedal assembly has a stud for right here, so I'll have to replace that with a bolt. I really didn't want to have to change the pedal assemblies. Well, I guess maybe a few of you who have worked on these vehicles were screaming at your screens telling me that the GT pedal assembly is different from the V6 one. I just found out that they are different, so now I'm going to be removing the pedal assembly from both cars so that I can get the brake booster to work. Now that both pedal assemblies are out of the vehicles, you can actually see what the differences are. On the right, we have the GT pedal assembly, which has this stud, which the V6 pedal assembly does not. And also the position of the stud that the brake booster attaches are different. You can see this one is way up here, but this one is down here. And it's not just the angle that the camera is at, that is actually different. So hopefully swapping these pedal assemblies will be the last issue I have. I finally have the brake booster and pedal assembly installed for the final time, I believe. So from here, I'm probably gonna work on doing some wiring. As you can see, I've got a majority of all of the wiring in. Most of it isn't actually clicked into place, it's just sat there like all of this. I haven't bolted the window washer bucket in yet because I just put it in there to get the wiring where it needs to be. The next thing I'm gonna do is work on cleaning up the old K-member a little bit. I want to get most of the rust off and then throw some tape on it just to protect the paint that I put underneath the frame rail. But this is what we're gonna use to put wheels on the Mustang to move it around. I got the wiring harness out of the other car and I'm about to start installing it on this. I just gotta put some tape on some areas like this right here, and I'm gonna start plugging some things in. So I got a good amount of the wiring put into where it needs to be, but I took a break from that and went ahead and put the crash bar back on. I'm about to put this fiberglass piece back on the front here. I decided to not do that right then and go ahead and start working on putting the dash in. It wasn't that hard, but it was a little annoying. We have the dash and the K-member in, and I also went ahead and threw the steering shaft in, but I also had to change the throttle cable. So pretty much everything we can do is done. We've got everything hooked up. I even have the steering shaft hooked up so that when we want to move it, we can actually use the steering wheel instead of just kicking the tires. I just tested this, and in theory it makes sense, but it was cool for it to actually work. And to kind of test that most of everything was hooked up, I had the positive hooked to the battery cable mount, and I just have the negative grounded there. And when I turn the jump pack on, if I put the key in, the gauges turn on. So we just got the car back and it runs great. I'm not going to show you what the front of the car looks like right now. It's still all taken apart. I kind of want it to be like one reveal. But without any further ado, I present to you my manual 2000 Mustang convertible GT.
I was a plane crashing in your head.
Well, the car is far from done, but this chapter of the build is now complete. It is now drivable. I can take it wherever I want to, but there are some small things that need to be done. One of them being is the radio hasn't been installed yet because this dash is out of the other car. There's small things like parts of the side skirt is missing, and obviously the paint is not great at all. But you know what? I'm fine with that. I wanted to drive this car so extremely bad, and I'm so happy to have it back. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking the video. See you in the next one.